Today, I'm doing a land investing, life, Q&A, you name it. We're probably gonna cover it on this video here today. I've got a big list of questions here, so let's waste no time. Let's jump into it. And if you like this content, give it a thumbs up. It makes my mother happy. All right, question number one. What is the biggest mistake new land investors make in their first year? Good question. There's two categories we're going to create here. We're going to create the category of the person going in on their own and the category of the person that's in some program. The person on their own suffers from hubris. And I mean this delicately, but frankly, the business has changed so much in the last few years that it's next to impossible to figure this out without a blueprint, without a roadmap. Now, I know you might be saying, oh, Sumner, you're biased. Look, I really don't care if you go through Leah or another program. All I'm saying is this business has radically increased in complexity. There's a high level of hubris if you think you can just waltz in here and figure it out. It's not as complex as becoming a doctor or a lawyer or anything like that, but maybe it's 1/20th as complex. And I think being 1/20th as complex as going to law school deserves going through some kind of schooling to become a decent, proficient land investor. And I've become bitter and jaded hearing the stories of people getting on calls saying, I lost $100,000. I'm in credit card debt. Well, what did you do? Well, I sent some mail and I thought I would get deals. Come on, guy or girl, doesn't really matter. So that's category one. Category two is the person that's like inside of a program. Now, I'm making broad strokes generalizations, but typically the folks that are inside of a program look at great. You've already overcome the hubris kind of first step that a lot of people don't get past. But when you're in that category, what happens is people think action trumps all. And it kind of does, like action matters, but action without the right application is kind of meaningless. And so you don't want to join a program and just go guns a-blazing, blah, 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 like with a machine gun. In the beginning, the action is like absorbing information, taking in the information, putting pen to paper, actually being a student of the game. And so the best land investors that I see, let's say they're inside of Leah, they come in and it's like 3 to 6 months in, like it looks like on paper, they haven't done anything. They're not sharing big wins in Discord. They're just silently plugging away, showing up to the calls, going through the modules, taking notes. They're methodical. And then 6 months, 8 months, they get this like meteoric rise. It's this compounding effect of all of the work they were doing that you didn't see behind the scenes, but it catches up with them and it pays off. And I guess really the takeaway from both of those categories is this business is complex, guys. It is. I still get stumped in this business all of the time. I can't imagine what it would be like to be a new kid on the block in this business. I really couldn't. I do have a lot of empathy for it because when I came in, it was like you could be kind of dumb as a rock and make it work. Game has changed. But boy, for the ones that figure it out, so much opportunity. Crazy, 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 crazy. How did my first deal go and what did it teach me about the land business? Well, my first deal was a little 1/4 acre lot in Pahrump, Nevada, Nye County, right outside of Las Vegas, just west of Las Vegas. One of those classic, bought it for like $1,100 or right under $1,100, sold it for $2,400 on Facebook. It was crazy at the time. I could not believe how much money I made in one deal, like earth shattering. And I think what it really taught me about the business, one, it didn't really teach me anything about land investing because I was dumb as a rock. And it was just like, holy crap. You know, that whatever, $1,000 in profit that I made in that deal, after taxes, that was probably about 2 weeks of work for me at my job, maybe 10 days. I don't know. So in this situation, I, collectively might've had 3 hours into the deal, 2.5, 2. So it was like a real like expectation reset of like what's possible. And it's funny because it wasn't a lot of money, but it was shocking to me. Shocking. And I think it's like a tangential point too, is like a real confidence boost. Like I think the first deal is not about making money. Maybe your first 10 deals really aren't. It's like validation that you're competent enough to do this. I don't know if maybe you don't struggle with this, but when I got started, I had like real imposter syndrome for a long time. Like I would be trembling to get on the calls with sellers because I felt so inadequate to talk about land with a 50-year-old smart dude who like owns a big portfolio of real estate. I was like, I don't belong on this call. Talking to title companies, I'm some kid. They asked me if I want to put the money in escrow. I'm like, what the hell is escrow? So there was a bit of that too. What's the difference between a land flipper and a real land investor? Ooh. So the way I phrase it is like land investor versus what I call like land entrepreneur. And to me, someone that's a land investor, and look, they play a role. They have a skill set. Like those people know land. They're very technical. They know the intricacies of county regulations and everything about septic systems and leach fields. Like they know land. They're tacticians. They're deal makers. But that usually is also their constraint, right? They're so in the weeds. They're so fixated on the little minutia that they are their bottleneck. And so to me, a land investor is usually a one-man band. Maybe they have a VA and they, do deals and they're very intricate, and that's great. A land entrepreneur, like a real land investor, whatever you want to call it, to me at that point, land is just a widget. That's how I look at it. It's just a thing in my inventory. Yeah, there's a baseline of knowledge I need to have, but I'd be lying to you if I said I'm like an expert on all things land. Like I couldn't name off all of the alternative septic systems out there or tell you the intricacies of soil types, because frankly, that matters so little in the grand scheme of things. You see, the difference here is just a difference in priorities. I think a land entrepreneur is thinking about leverage. How do I create leverage? How do I turn this into a mechanism, a machine, a trap, a mousetrap? Trying to build a better mousetrap. Usually the best way to do that is not by massive subject matter expertise. It's taking business principles and then applying them to the widget of flipping land. And what you realize is that maybe they're out there. There's not a lot of people that I know, really, if any, that are doing huge, revenue volume or profit volume as like those super in the weeds land investors. They might exist. I don't know. They probably do. But it seems like that kind of persona caps out around a couple $100,000 a year. If you want to go beyond that, all of the top players I know, their focus goes from being the land master to like the team master, frankly. How do I build teams? How do I build people? How do I build culture? How do I build an organization and build, again, this conveyor belt, this mechanism, this machine where land comes on it and then money moves off on the back end. And that's what you're looking to create. And I think that's the distinguishing difference. And that's why lovingly land attracts a very kind of nerdy type. Maybe I'm one of them. And usually that kind of person though has a really hard time breaking through whatever that, couple $100,000 a year barrier is, because the next step is such a different, disparate skill set that they're just not familiar with and not comfortable with. And it almost does take a totally different brain to do the first part versus the second part, or be a land investor versus a land entrepreneur, if you will. How do I handle sellers that want retail for their land? It's a great question. I think the first thing that we need to look at is the fact that generating leads in this business is actually really easy, straight up. It is. Pick any marketing channel, get good at it, scale it up, you can generate leads. What's not easy is knowing what leads you should invest your time in or your team's time in. And that's the game of pre-qualification. So most people look at qualifying a lead through price. They say this lead wants retail, so they're out. This lead wants under retail, so it's a great lead. The problem with that game is I think it's superficial, like you're just scratching the surface. And I know from my own data that so many of our best deals, the seller was up here on their price. They wanted more than retail, and we made a deal happen. So why was that? How were we able to stick in the fight, stick in the negotiation, stick in our follow-up process to see that deal through when they wanted the crazy price? And so for me, it comes down to a couple frameworks. One, do I even want to buy the property? If I'm going to fight the dragon of a retail seller that wants a crazy price, the property better be worth it. That's the first thing you need to validate. Is the juice worth the squeeze? You give me a $10,000 deal and the seller wants $10,000. I'm spending 20 minutes on it. I'm throwing out an offer. I'm on to the next. A $300,000 property, well, I'll hang out. I'll go through the qualification process. The next thing that we think about is what I call the property backstory. What does the chain of title tell us? And it tells an important story that a lot of people miss. When did they buy it? How did they acquire it? Was it on a quitclaim deed? Was it an interfamily transfer? Did they buy it with a mortgage? Did they buy it with their spouse who maybe passed away, or with their siblings? Where does the seller live? Are they up to date on taxes? Are there any liens on the property? All of that is telling you something that the seller probably won't tell you. You have to understand that most sellers are good negotiators. Frankly, like the median seller is a good negotiator. They usually have more life experience than 24-year-old Sumner. They could run laps around me on the phone. So if you're on the nose and you're like, why do you want to sell? They're going to say, get out of here, or they're going to give you a superficial answer. The next thing that I look at is what I call the 3 whys. Why do you want to sell now? Why haven't you sold before? And why not list with a realtor? You see, there's a level of disassociation when a seller wants retail and they're not willing to list it with a realtor. I want to unpack that. I want to find that. And I want to pull on that string. So they say, I want retail. I say, great, you should list it with a realtor. We can't pay retail. We're investors. Give my whole spiel. I say, yeah, but I really don't like realtors. Well, why don't you like realtors? Oh, they take too long. Oh, so you have a time timeline? Well, I mean, kind of, sort of, my daughter's going off to Harvard, so I'd like to get this thing sold before she goes back to school. Oh, so there's motivation. You see, when I discover motivation, then I'm willing to stick around. When I've ticked those boxes, you have whatever price you want. It's okay. I just know that you probably will change your mind, or you won't, and that's okay. Some people won't, but that's my signal to keep on showing up. And that is why I think in 2025, for people that are able to generate leads, pre-qualification is the single greatest skill. It is goated. It is golden. Get good at it. And for the love of goodness, stop prejudging your leads too quickly. I see so many people that throw away leads because they wanted retail. That's silly. Probe, go a little deeper. How do you keep Leah land insights in your land business moving forward without burning out? To be honest, I don't know if I have a great answer because I do struggle with that, but I'll try my best. One, I try to work with great people. I think working with great people makes the mission fun. And working with great people usually means that you can rely on them. You can trust them. You don't need to micromanage. I think the selection of the person matters so much more than anything else. I don't care how good your SOPs are or any of that stuff. Selection matters more, I would say, than anything when hiring. So select great people, and it makes the journey a heck of a lot more fun. Two, by having great people, I try to allow myself to work on the things that I feel like I actually like, things that I enjoy. Like I enjoy doing this. And the cool thing about those businesses is there's a ripple effect. What I do here ripples out to Leah, ripples out to Land Insights, and has some long tail effect to our land business. And so there's a game where it's like, you kind of cut and do the work once, and it does get repeated. You get to draw more juice out of it than you would if every business was totally unrelated. I think running 3 businesses is probably a bad idea. And I think it's a really bad idea if they're not intricately related. These 3 businesses are essentially Siamese twins. So it makes it a heck of a lot easier. And I really think that people discount fun. Like fun in your work is important. Now, it's not always fun, and you don't always have the luxury to work on fun things all of the time, or maybe even at all. But I think that is the kind of the key and the lock that opens up longevity, and longevity is what opens up compounding, and compounding is how you really win. So figure out how to have fun with what you do. And that's probably by taking inventory on the things in your business that give you energy. That's a really good litmus test. What things drain you, what things give you energy. Ideally do more of the latter. How do you approach profit sharing or compensation for team members? In the beginning, I think I was not stingy necessarily, but I just was ignorant. I think over the years, I've become a lot more generous. Now, most of our compensation is tied to performance, both within role and then within the business. And there, I'm willing to really open up and give and give and give and give and give. Now, I do have people that are on really high salaries, but I found the best success with a moderate salary and then being very generous with compensation that's aligned with the business. And I think that when you find people that are awesome, you should give more ideally. And then you should set stretches and stretches beyond that, because great people will rise to the occasion. And so what I've learned is back in the day, I think I was very tight-fisted with compensation. And then I got to the place where I opened up compensation a little bit, but it was always static, right? It was like compensation is locked in at this rate. What I've started to do over the years, though, is create compensation plans that go in accordance with growth. So there's thresholds and kickers. And so you incentivize people pushing, growing. So yeah. What made you move to Bali? And how has that shaped your business, I think? Well, I moved to Bali for a lot of reasons. Namely, I fell in love with this place. I visited March of 2023. And I think on some level, we all were kind of coded to really enjoy certain places. There's places that maybe within our DNA or something, I don't know, just trigger us in a good way. I always joke with my friends that I was probably Indonesian in a past life or something like that, because when I came here, I was like, this is the place for me. And it's a complex thing. It's not just the beauty of it. I think it's beautiful. And I've got beaches and mountains, which to me, I'm a sucker for. Then you give me volcanoes, it's game over. I'm obsessed with volcanoes. But really more than anything, it's the local people, and their energy has a ripple effect on the island. It reverberates through the island, and you feel it, man. You really do. There is a love and joy and open-heartedness that the world really needs that unfortunately is scarce nowadays. Now, the interesting thing is some people come here and they feel it, some people don't. But for those that feel it, it is brings you to your knees. I mean, it makes you emotional. Just the pure, raw love, just the human to human love. We're different. We come from different places, different skin colors, different religions, different backgrounds, and I love you nonetheless. I mean, if that's not what the world needs today, I don't know what is. And you compare that to where America is at, or most Western countries today, and everyone is so divided. There is no tolerance. There is no understanding. There's no open-mindedness. Sure, like the world has gotten weird and people are doing some interesting things, but at the end of the day, you got to have compassion for your fellow man. Like humans are social creatures. We need each other and we've forgotten that. So that was a big part of it. Also, there's like a really cool expat scene here. So you got this beautiful local culture, and then you can tap into people from all over the world. Like I literally go to the beach, I meet people from Russia, from Ukraine, from Germany, from England, from Scotland, from America. Like it's so cool. It's literally a melting pot on this island. And I love that. Just you get exposed to people from everywhere. And the expat scene is really buzzing. It's really alive. This island, at least where I live in Canggu in the South, it's got that frenetic energy of literally New York City, but with a small town vibe. It's the coolest thing ever. Like you'll drive through a small village at like 11 o'clock at night and people are out. People are living, man. People are just, they're there. And I love that. You know, people sitting up on their stoop, sweeping the steps or whatever, playing a game of backgammon. I don't know. So that was it. I mean, that was pretty much it. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, it's cheap. You're probably like, no, actually that I was like very low on the totem pole of things. I would pay 10 times the amount that it costs to live here, to live in a place like this, because to me, it is so special. And I always tell Sarah, it feels like being at Woodstock in the 70s. Like, I don't know how long this is going to last. All things change. And this island is going through rapid change, but it feels like you're a part of something special while it lasts. What's your philosophy around discipline, health, and focus? Getting disciplined probably was the single greatest attribute that I've developed in my life. And it's a weird oxymoron because being disciplined feels like being regimented, and being regimented feels like you don't have freedom. But the irony is it's that regiment, it's that discipline that does unlock freedom. And I think that a lot of people in the West nowadays that feel like they're struggling, not all of it, of course, I understand different circumstances. I'm not trying to overly generalize, but I do think that in the West, there is an air of entitlement and a lack of discipline that is systemic. Discipline looks like doing the things that you don't necessarily want to do, even when you don't want to do them because they need to get done. It's just that simple. And you build that muscle over time that is so strong that there is no weight that can resist it. And that's discipline. And when you unlock discipline and you start doing hard things, nothing is off limits anymore. That is freedom, where you no longer constrain yourself. You no longer say, I can't do things because I've got evidence that I've done them. And that evidence was generated through the muscle of discipline. You see, even in the West where we do have luxuries and freedoms, most people don't even have freedom because what gets in their way is what's up here. Devastating, limiting beliefs that shackle them to the life that they have currently. So discipline to me is important. And the interesting thing is that I learned what discipline was through health or fitness, really. Because the funny thing is I was not a disciplined kid at all. Like I was chronically labeled lazy by teachers, by parents. I was a lazy kid. At least that's what I was looked at as. And maybe I was, to be honest. I don't really remember. But what I do remember is being sick and tired of being sick and tired and small and frail and getting in the gym and seeing the change and still showing up even when I necessarily want to. And getting addicted to the fact that, whoa, you can change things. Like things are not static or stationary. Like you literally can change things. What a cool experience. And wow, that's really deeply connected to me doing things even when I don't want to do them. And I think that's where discipline got formed. Now, focus, I know it's interesting. I don't even feel like I'm the most focused person. Like I feel like I probably struggle with focus. But if you zoomed out and looked at my life, I guess I am pretty focused. Like I don't miss. I really just do my things. I just execute. Bam, bam, bam. Like if you look at my days, I'm pretty methodical with it. So maybe I am focused. I don't know. And maybe it's my inner critic, but I feel like I also really struggle with focus. So I'm not quite sure what to say there, to be honest. I don't know if I got advice for you. How does Land Insights make this business easier compared to when you started? I mean, it's not even comparable, to be honest. It's night and day. You see, Land Insights has codified all of the skills that I've generated over the last 6 years, put them into a software, put AI wrapped around it, and it literally does those things. And that's why, like, if you look at within our team, just as an example, we're able to onboard brand new team members and they can pick markets as good as me. They can export data as good as me. They can filter properties as good as me, pick realtors as good as me, comp properties as good as me, because the knowledge has been codified and then supercharged with the intelligence of AI. That's pretty much it. I mean, it's gangbusters. Now, ironically, in the same time, we've moved through a weird real estate market in the last, year and a half, 2 years. So of course that's, stymied some of the extra sauce that you might feel. But I promise you, as someone that was sitting in that seat before, I would rather start today than when I started. Yeah, you could get dumb lucky when I got started, but I wasn't landing dumb lucky big deals. I was landing dumb lucky $1,000 deals. Nowadays, inside of Leah, we got people that use Land Insights that land $50,000 deals on their second deal, third deal, first deal, even $100,000 deals. And I really think that that's a highly improbable situation to have without Land Insights. It's possible for sure. And it did happen prior to Land Insights, but it just increases the odds dramatically. The other thing is that when I got started, I would go through these massive peaks and troughs. Land Insights kind of flattens the curve, right? It makes everything a lot more consistent. Your market selection is a lot more consistent, both in quality and also it's easier to do so you don't punt it. Same thing with comping, same thing with everything else. When I got started, my skills were all over the place. So I didn't really know what I was doing. So I get mixed results, but also the work was so begrudgingly terrible, like sorting through land.com and Redfin into a spreadsheet. And I had 12 spreadsheets to pick a market, then export from data tree, that you would end up pushing that off. I'll do it next week and then next week. And then you look at the last month and you're like, I sent 1/3 the amount of the marketing that I was meant to send. And I think a lot of land investors experience that, where their results swing mainly because they're inconsistent with marketing. Land Insights does so much of that and makes it so easy that it's just frankly pretty hard to ignore doing what you need to do. And, we're seeing a kind of a new age with Land Insights with people that are, newish to land, less than 2 years in, small team, and Land Insights, the AI kind of crazy force accelerator or whatever you want to call it, that do 7 figures, where before you would need a team that's twice as large or maybe more. And so, yeah, just a cool time to be alive with Land Insights and really AI and technology in general. Why do you think most people overcomplicate this business? Ego? Maybe? I don't know. Weird game of validation. Like if you can make it super complex, there's some ego in that. I really don't know. Ironically, the smartest people over theorize and over complicate what is really at its core a very simple business. We pick areas that we want to buy land in. We send marketing to people. We get them on the phone. We have a conversation. We make an offer that's profitable. We buy the deal. We flip the deal, and that's it. And anyone that wants to tell you you need this crazy org chart with 37 people and 400 different zaps going on, and it's not true. And I think part of it too is people want to ignore the work that really matters. And so it feels like this faux productivity to build out this crazy Gantt chart that is going to make you so productive, when it's dude, just literally send more marketing and make more offers. It literally. And when I talk to people in Leah that are killing it, they're always just yeah, I just don't know why people don't do more of what works. It's just that. And really, I would say the smartest people in this business just don't overcomplicate it, straight up. And I guess by smartest, I mean the people that have the best results, maybe not IQ. What's a bad land deal that still taught you something valuable? There's been a few of them. 2 in particular. The first one is actually the origin behind how Land Insights got built. So learned a lot from that one. That was a deal that I bought in Phoenix, Arizona, when interest rates went up in 2022. And I realized that little MSA that I was in got crushed. All of the demand got pulled out. That deal took 1.5 years to sell. But other markets that I was in were still doing well and land was still selling there. And I was wait, this is way more local than I realized. Yeah, I always thought, well, interest rates go up, all of real estate gets crushed. It's no, in some areas, land's still selling. And so that was the catalyst to getting really deep on market selection, building a team of VAs to start sorting all of this. And then eventually that led to building Land Insights, which in the last year has literally doubled my business. And I can draw a direct link to Land Insights legitimately. So very grateful for what's been built there. Another bad deal was in 2023, I think, somewhere in that territory. And it was my first entitlement deal, creating paper lots or attempting to. And I won't get into all the reasons why that deal sucked, but mostly why it sucked is because I got so far out of my lane, And I think I realized that I don't need to know how to do everything in land. I don't need to be the guy that can do every little niche strategy. I'm going to be the guy that takes what I know works and just runs it up. And that's what we do in Leah. We don't teach everything under the sun because we teach one thing that we're really good at that works really well. And if you want to do that, do it. And I think people will go to these conferences or watch a YouTube video or whatever, and they hear people that are killing it with truck stops on their property, subdivides, flipping to gas stations, entitlements. And it's like, yeah, they all work. But I think it's more fruitful to become an expert at one thing and just push input, just a lot of input. And so I veered out of my lane, and I hated the process. I hated everything about doing that deal. I thought the process was so stupid, so bureaucratic, so boring. And I'm like, why am I doing this? I could have done 25 flips that I enjoy that are in my wheelhouse in the same amount of time and probably made the same amount of money, if not way more. How do you make decisions fast without second guessing yourself? Well, I think you need to, first off, you need to have a clear head. You need to be able to think clearly. And I think that one of my skills, and I'm by no means the smartest person at all, but I can get introspective. Like I can create some white space and think. And I know that sounds stupid, but I really feel like that's a lost skill nowadays. Like just you thinking, no phone, no nothing, just thinking, maybe pen to paper or on a walk. And so being in that clear headspace, it doesn't always mean you're going to make the right decisions every time, but man, your hit rate's pretty good. Like there is some part of you that often does know the answer. I just think that we get so bogged down with BS that you can't think clearly. And especially nowadays with this thing, and I think that boredom is the gateway to ingenuity. And so I think actually purposely creating moments where you're legitimately bored and having white space is where you can finally think clearly. You can actually hear yourself. And from there, I think given a large enough sample size of decision making, you can't lose. Straight up. Now, maybe some people have better discernment than others. I don't know. I can only speak from my experience. So a lot of times when I make decisions, I'm not one to go get a sounding board and hash out. I permeate with myself. If it's a really big consequential one, I will go to certain people that I really trust their judgment, and then I just go. Now, I think one of the important things with making big decisions is you need to weigh the downside. Now, if this implodes and it goes all wrong, can you live with those consequences? If so, go all in and do not think twice. Just go. Because what will kill you is executing with 1 foot in and 1 foot out. That will get you. Not the decision. It's that indecisiveness. It's that lack of conviction. I think the world kind of bends to people with extreme conviction to the right ideas. So get clear, weigh the downsides. If you can live with the downsides, it's probably time to send it. If it's a very big consequential decision, find out who's your kind of executive board of people that you really trust. Talk to them. Do not get too many opinions, though. I think when you get too many voices in your ear, that ultimately leads to indecision. What was the hardest lesson you had to learn personally to grow as a founder? I could say a lot of things here, but I think it's to be nice. Now, I think that I'm outwardly a nice person. I don't think I'm an asshole. But I do have a high level of self-criticism. And naturally, we are going to tend to project on other people, especially when the stakes get high. And in business, stakes get high. And there's times when I could be insensitive, times where I could lack compassion because that's the compassion that I probably lacked for myself. And so I think it's very important to give people the benefit of the doubt, to choose your words very carefully. I think explosiveness and outrage has no place in an organization, ever. And so I think that was a real learning curve for me. And again, I don't think I was like horrible, but I think people felt my criticism and could feel that I could be very intense and overbearing, right? And to work through that, there's a lot I had to look at with how I treat myself. And so that was like a founder growth thing that had a real ripple effect on who I am. And that's the beautiful thing about business is, there's no separation. It's part of your life. And who you are as a person is going to be reflected in your results, in your culture, in your team, with your customers. It's going to show up everywhere. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below if you guys have any more questions. I'll answer them myself. See you guys in the next one. Click the subscribe button. If you're serious about flipping land for predictable profit and you want to plug into the exact system our students are using to close their first deal or their next 10 deals, then tap the video right here. It's a free 15-minute strategy call where we're going to pull back the curtain and show you the exact Leah system that our students are using right now. We'll show you the entire process A to Z on how you can start landing deals in the next 90 days or less. Slots tend to fill up fast. Grab your spot now. And I look forward to showing you the exact Leah land flipping playbook that I've been using for the last 6 years and that nearly 500 other Leah members have used today. Click it and I'll see you inside.